Hey everyone, this is Pat Andersen here, calling in from the farm in Sallisaw, Oklahoma. I'm so excited that you've joined us tonight. This is our first, but it's not the very first that we've done it. It's just live. We used to do this all the time on the Blog Talk Radio and on Zija Nation calls. And I think, Ben, we did that for something like 7 or 8 years. And so I thought, I'm just going to tell you quickly my story, and then I'm going to introduce Dr. Ben to you. I've been with Zija now 9.5 years. I got into it because of the product. I had a health challenge that I needed to, look after myself, and I came across this amazing botanical, and it's changed my life. And so that's why I've been paying it forward for the last 9.5 years. And I'm so lucky. I've got the most amazing partners in crime, as I say a lot of times. And Dr. Ben Bowers from Wichita, Kansas, part-time, and Indiana the other time. He's been with us for 9 years now, and he has Bowers Wellness Center. He's a chiropractor, board-certified internist, more degrees than you can imagine, but he's an expert on moringa. So, Dr. Ben, thank you so much. And this is fun. I get to see you when we talk.
Awesome, Pat. How many times we did the radio show and it was just live audio, but no face. So that's kind of cool. Well, welcome, everybody. We want to welcome you to the call tonight or to the radio show or the live show. And we are excited. As Pat was saying, we have been around this for a long time. And my quick story is I get involved because I had several family members that had some serious life-threatening health issues. And when I first looked at this, I thought it was too good to be true. I did my due diligence, did all my research that I do, and I do a ton of research. In fact, we're going to talk about even some of that research tonight, but I did so much that I thought, all right, this is good enough for my patients. This is good enough for my family, so I brought it into my practice. But I was a skeptic, big skeptic. And in fact, I put 47 people on it before I even tried it. And here I was having a lot of health issues myself. And so when I finally started it and I saw a world of difference, then I became a real believer. Even though I had results for my patients, I personally didn't have those results yet. So been on it ever since then and loving every bit of it, man. It's exciting. It's good stuff.
It's great stuff. And we've had some tremendous results, the two of us. And we were just joking before the call. Here we are. We just both turned 60 in the wintertime. And I don't know about you, Ben, but I feel better than I did 9.5 years ago.
You know what, Pat, I'll attest to that. Of course, having had cancer, having been paralyzed, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and having gone through all that. And a funny part of that story is the third time I was paralyzed. First time was for 5 years. Now, everybody can see I can move all my hands and everything now, but 20 years ago, I couldn't. And the first time I didn't have moringa. The second time I didn't have moringa. And so the first time I was paralyzed 5 years. The second time I was paralyzed about 6 months. The third time I had moringa, and I was over being paralyzed in 2 weeks. Now, I am a major consumer. I was drinking 8 to 10 or 12 of these a day because of some things we'll talk about. But it got me up and walking, got me moving again. So I will be on this the rest of my life. It's just some of the research we'll talk about. It's phenomenal what this does. And not everybody's going to have these kind of results. Let's be honest about that. But for the people who have the serious issues, you got to give them something that's going to give them the biggest bang for their buck. And nothing, I mean, nothing in the world compares. And I research all the products. I've done a lot of product manufacturing, formulating for a lot of companies. I've written programs all around the world with 19 different degrees and certifications that I have. I've done a lot, right? And nothing compares to moringa, especially with Zija. So it's exciting.
I agree. So I remember way back in the day when we started first looking at moringa, looking at, what was different about it. Both of us were so impressed with the 92 nutrients. Let's just go over that because there's a lot of guests on the line tonight. And that's what really excited both of us.
Here's a unique thing. And I ask my patients pretty much this a lot. I go, why do we eat? Why do we drink? Well, we do that for fuel. That's the real answer. So the fuel breaks down into 4 substrates. You have your sugars, which is your carbohydrates, your simple and your complex. You have your fats, and then you have your proteins. And the 4th category is your minerals, your mineralizations. So we usually don't talk about the minerals because they're included in the first 3. But when we look at all those building blocks that we need, where do we get them? And in today's world, we don't have all of them the way they should, the way God designed and created these bodies. but they're in moringa. And when we talk about all the 20 the 20 amino acids, and then the 8 essential amino acids that we need to make everything, they're all in there. All your water-soluble vitamins in there, all your fat-soluble vitamins in there, all your glucose-converting factors that are in there for your sugars for energy. And when we talk about all the antioxidants, the 46 antioxidants, and I could spend 8 hours. When I teach my seminars to doctors, we spend 8 hours just talking on that one subject. The anti-inflammatories, there's over 36 anti-inflammatories. There is nothing on this planet, I don't care whether it's an herb, a botanical, a drug, a prescription, a homeopathic remedy, there is nothing other than moringa oleifera that has 36 of them in there. So when I give a patient that moringa oleifera for those anti-inflammatory components, it's massive. Now, real quick, when we talk about disease and symptoms and problems of the body that cause this disease, there's over 20-some thousand different things that we know that can attack the body. Of those 20,000, 12,000 deal with 2 factors. One is quantity of life, how long we're going to live, and then quality of life, how well we live in that length of time. And when I break those 2 things down, they go down to what's called oxygen-free radicalization, which is an antioxidant component we need to fix. And then that causes an inflammatory reaction. And there are 3 major pathways, 7 substrates, 26 minor substrates, and all of those are in moringa. And so when we look at why a person should and drink it and the results that we have, that's it. Now, when we first started on this, and you and I and Russ and Monica Marcoux, we were doing all the research, we start talking about a unique term that we coined or we came up with. And that term is called the dynamic progression, geometric progression of moringa. And here's what we thought from all the research that we did. That when you start consuming it, certain things would start happening. For example, we would break down the oxidative free radicalization problem, the rusting of the body, and we would reduce the fire or the inflammation of the body. And when we reduce those 2 things, once the body cleaned that up, it would start diving deeper. So we did a lot of research. We went through all the protocols that you and I and Russ that we worked up and we developed, because the research that we did and the things that we found with the patients or the people we prescribed it to, the results we got back were phenomenal. I had a 284 questionnaire that I had my patients fill out. So we literally watched and detailed every aspect of what moringa did to them. So that's how we figure out it's better if you mix it in water the night before, and it's better if you keep it in a sealed container, and it's better if you consume it over a time basis component. So we came up with all those protocols, and as we saw phenomenal results, it was almost miraculous results. It's like, are you kidding me? Where did this come from? All right. So here's the beauty of it. Now here we are, fast forwarding, and I have just a couple different research articles I want to talk about just briefly that we go into. And these are currently published research as of 2/14 to 2/16. And here's what they say. They say that the longer you drink moringa oleifera, the healthier you become. Now let's change a couple words. What it does, it slows down the digression or the degradation of things. What's that mean? We're slowing down the aging process. So you and I at 60 feeling wonderful, feeling better than we did 5-10 years ago, all right? And here's another interesting thing is I do a lot of the DNA, what's called the epigenetic component of the genome. And this little article, we just went in and we looked at 25 key factors of how moringa oleifera. Now you got to remember, there's in the moringa family, there's 13 different trees, and there's 58 different varietals or varieties of that tree. We're talking about moringa oleifera. It is the meanest, baddest, biggest, toughest, most nutrient-dense botanical on the planet, right? So when we look at this and we start looking at reducing all these oxidative components, that causes a term that's called mutagenicity, meaning it's changing our DNA. That's a precancerous term. So what we start looking at is what does moringa do? And the term they've come up with is the chemopreventional aspect, which means the longer you drink moringa oleifera or consume moringa oleifera, the more chemoprotective you become, meaning you're slowing down the mutagenic substances that mutate to change to a precancerous condition. Now, remember, when we say cancer, that's not the bad metastatic one. It's all cancers in the body. And here's what the interesting thing that this research showed out, that when you start drinking it for just 3 years, in 3 years, you slow down that, hang on, I got to get that sheet. When you slow down that process, in 3 years, you change the progression of mutagenicity or degradation by 20 years. 3 years, gained you 20 years of quality of life. If you drink it 5 years, you gained 30 years of progression, degradation, stopping it. And if you drink it for 10 years, you get 50 years of reduction of mutagenicity or progression that goes into it. So what we said 8 and 9 years ago is that the dynamic geometric progression of drinking moringa evolves into digging down and finding all the things that are wrong and then repairing and rebuilding that back up to your normalcy. We're now proven that the moringa oleifera, this is the only one that does it, literally changes the body's ability to mutate, right? So if I can slow down the mutation, I'm slowing down your aging process, the degradation. I'm slowing down disease entities. I'm slowing down things that attack your immune system. I'm rebuilding you from the ground back up. And that's why we have people that we have on this product that go, I'm 80 years old, but I feel 60 again, because we're slowing that down. They have life, they have vitality. So what I've been telling my patients, and I'm talking about thousands of patients, we have well into 7,000 or 8,000 or 9,000 patients over this time frame that have been on this product, and we literally are documenting all the improvement they're making. They're going, I'm never getting off this product because I feel so good. Now, here becomes a little problem I have found in all these thousands of patients is we get a new threshold, right? And now we think that's the new level. And we go, well, I'm happy here. I can stop here. And so every now and then a patient will stop it and then they'll start dropping back down, right? So the longer we consume this product, the healthier they stay and the healthier they become. So the beauty for where you and I are today compared to 8 or 9 years ago is now we have all that research that proves what was then our hypothesis, what we pontificated in our hypothesis about that. Research has now proven that out, and that's what I love. And there's some, I mean, I have hundreds of these research articles, how it fixes all these different things. And it's just, for me as a researcher myself and a practicing physician, I look at all this stuff and I'm going, are you kidding me? I wish I'd have found this 30 years ago, 40 years ago, but here we are.
Well, and Dr. Ben, you know what I really like is if we get our children started on this early, okay, before they get all the problems, et cetera, you know, we're going to see a healthier generation coming up. You know, not like they say, you know, the children are being more obese, they're having diabetes problems, heart problems. You know, if we get this into them at an early age, we are going to actually, you know, change kids' lives.
Here's the beauty of that, Pat. Well, most people don't realize, we think that when we're born, we have all of our DNA, and we do not, right? In fact, up to about age 6, we only have about 80% of our potential for our DNA. We don't get our full DNA until we're about 24, 25, 26. So think about that. What if we had a person, let's say from at least 1 year of age to 20 years of age, where we're building blocks, we're accurately building the DNA without the inflammation, without the immune system problems, without the degradation of the oxygenation problems. All of a sudden, we make them healthier. We make them smarter. We make them more viable to do things. And they don't have all these problems that some of our kids are. So my 15 grandchildren, a couple of them that are brand new, all right, they're only a year old, we have all the rest of them on it. And some of them been on it for 8 or 9 years. And I'm telling you, our grandkids don't get sick. They don't have all these problems. They aren't being rushed to the doctor, all these problems. As a general rule, if they will take this stuff, it's fixing all these problems. So that's great for their age now, but wait till they're 15 and 20 and 25 and 30. Now that problem that most of our kids are now experiencing through the standard American diet, they're miles ahead of everybody else. And that's because we're giving them something that the body can use and works and functions very well for them. So it's wonderful. You're right. We're changing future generations, by what we drink, for those of us, not us, but for those who are still prolific, all right, meaning that they're actually conceiving and they're passing on good DNA. And then we give that next generation to it. We have a different world. We have different generations. It's amazing. Are you there?
Mm-hmm. Our
okay.
moringa, we love our pure moringa, the super, and you know, that's getting the nutrition into our body on a daily basis. You know, a lot of the people nowadays, they have a weight problem, and we all know it's because of the food, etc. Let's just talk quickly, about our weight management system, because I think this is really important to get correctly.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I cut out or you cut out. Let me see here. Make sure I didn't hit the wrong button. All right, so the issue that I like about the weight management, right, is that the weight management itself it's unique in that we're not really supposedly trying to lose weight, right? What we're trying to do is give the body all the building blocks that it knows in its innate ability to function correctly. So if you have a dysfunction, like inflammation, so to speak, your body swells, so it retains fluid. And if your body has the inability to break down fatty acids, you retain fat. So that's the key factor, is that what this weight management system does, it comes in and it fixes all the imbalances that are there. Now, sometimes you do need a little more fluid to make that process work, and other times you don't, right? So when I look at the phase that's going on in there, and I say, here's what makes this work.
I'm hoping Dr. Ben gets right back on here. Sorry, guys. Seems to be having a little bit of internet troubles. I know Tim said that our server was down in Houston, and I think maybe we're having a little bit of problem, and I apologize for that. So what Dr. Ben was just there. We are. You're back on. Yeah. There you go, bud.
All right. So when we're talking about that weight management, the concept is we fix the imbalances, and that's the beauty. All right. For some people, like, believe it or not, have patients who can't gain weight no matter what they eat and the process they have, because their body can't process the right utilization. So with the weight management system, we can come in and we can fix those imbalances. Now, for most people, it's because they aren't getting energy and they aren't getting building blocks that the body can't break things down, so it just stores it. So all of a sudden we come in and we start breaking things down correctly. And that was one of the first things that we saw. It's like, wait a minute, people are becoming satiated, which means they're satisfied. They're not hungry because they're getting energy. The body is starting to convert stored fat into energy, and they're eating less, consuming less, and they're burning more. And that was one of the things we started. In fact, one of the first deals we did is that we said, well, wait a minute, let's go look to see how this would have a dynamic effect before we came up with a weight management system. And that's what you and I and Russ and a few of the others, we were actually looking at, is what is the unique thing that's causing this weight loss? And so when we came in and we put an entire focus around it, and we said, how do we hit leptin and ghrelin, these different hormones? How do we shut them off and revamp them? And all of a sudden, people started losing weight. And I don't mean they lost muscle and just water weight. They were literally burning stored fat and converting it into energy. And so that's when we looked at this. We came up with the entirety of the weight management system with the XM product, the XM3, XM Cap, the XM Burn, the XM PM. We looked at all of those parameters where it was an issue, and we gave the body the balance. And I mean, we have patients, you know that, and it's been around, that's out there, hundreds of pounds they have lost and kept off. And I don't mean just kept off for 3 or 4 months, because when you look at weight loss industry, the average weight loss is -6 pounds, meaning over 9 to 12 months, they literally gained back what they lost plus up to 6 pounds. We don't have that. We have the majority of them that have lost it and kept it off for years. We rewrote the script in their body, if you will, by giving them what they were missing. We took the unbalanced component and rebalanced it back with the moringa, and it started doing what God intended it to do and fixed all those problems. So it's an awesome product, awesome line. It is.
It totally is. And, even for people that aren't trying to lose weight, Ben, we are a big fan of the premium tea.
Oh, yes.
I think that's something everybody needs to take.
When you look at the one of the major thing that I do in my office in my clinic is we look at the toxicity levels of the body. And so the real question is, how do we detoxify the body without making them sick? And the premium tea is one of the primary things that we use, whether we have them drink it 1 cup at a night, whether we have them drink throughout the day. There's a lot of different ways we can use that tea. But here's the beauty of this. When you can go in and start cleaning up the digestive tract first, the blood tract second, right, the liver tract third, and then the urinary tract fourth, and you're dumping out all the issues that are combining up in your body, and you literally get rid of it. You're getting rid of poisons, toxins, all those things that are causing imbalance. And so what we looked at, you and I specifically, when we started looking at this weight management system, is how we could get the tea or something like that to flush the body out. And that's when Ken Brailsford came on and Russ came back on. We put all that together, and that's a wonderful thing. even though we put it in the weight management system, I think it's something that people should do every 2 or 3 days. Just consume that tea just to keep flushing out all the toxins that they've been exposed to. We talk about internal, what's called endogenous, and external, which is exogenous toxicities that build up. This binds those up and gets them out of our body. And that's a very healthy place to be in. So we love the tea. You're right. It's awesome.
Okay, and then the other one that so many people are trying to understand is why our plant protein is better than other people's protein on the market.
Well, that's a real good question. The first thing I look at is how we derive the protein. All right. So whether you're talking about rice protein, plant protein, pea protein, soy protein, isoflavone proteins, all the different, whether it's animal protein, I mean, all the different proteins we look at. Here's one thing we know. When we look at what is called the pyruvate and the lactate pathway, don't get confused about those terms, but it's how we process protein in our body, that we get down into the phase that we actually utilize these key proteins. And here's what we found. When you take the purity of that protein, which is a building block that does not have to be digested, absorbed, or assimilated, meaning it has to go through 3 different phases, and you have it where it goes right in and gets assimilated immediately, it's a world of difference. And most proteins out there, whether you're talking about whey protein, any other type of protein, pea, rice, all those potato protein, they have to be digested and then absorbed. The way that we derive our plant protein out of the moringa, it is my joke. I tell patients, it's already digested for you, meaning you don't have to digest it. You drink it, you consume it, it goes right in as building blocks. And when we go through all the pathways it has to go through, it's so much readily accessible that the body can utilize it right away. And people who have been on protein drinks, smoothies, et cetera, for years, when they try our plant protein, they can almost tell an immediate difference within the first day, the first one they're using. And that's because the purity of what this is at the level the body can actually absorb it and assimilate it and put it to work. It doesn't use energy to make that happen, right? It gets right in. All the others require energy to break them down to make them work. So we're not using energy. It gets right in. We build energy because it goes down that Krebs cycle pathway, and we get better results quicker or faster. And that's the beauty of what the moringa plant protein does. So better than anybody else. It's a great product. Nobody can compare it to that one.
And then the last thing I think we need to talk about, and you kind of touched on it a little bit beforehand, but, all moringa is not created equal. We all see it on eBay. We see it on Amazon. We see it in the health food stores. But our product is so much different than what's on the market.
Pat, I did a lot of analysis on this because I have a lot of patients that live in countries where the moringa a tree grows right in their own backyard, and they've utilized that themselves. And what we started looking at is how we break down the actual product, if you will. So most of the consumer, or most of the companies that take moringa now, because you got to remember, Zija is the one that kind of put moringa on the face of the earth, if you will, as far as research goes and some of these other factors, that everybody now has seen the benefit of what Zija's moringa has done. They're carbon copy, or they're trying to copycat what we've done. So they go take these leaves and they dehydrate them. Right? They literally heat them down to get them into a powder that they can now encapsulate or put in a bulk source and sell it out as, we have moringa leaves, we have moringa, a flower, we have this in there. But the problem is that we identified with Russ and his team, there's 5 key steps that must occur to allow the natural dehydration, the degradation, if you will, to pull out 92 different things. Nobody else is doing that. And when we are growing and raising and harvesting over 90% of moringa oleifera on the planet, we have way more knowledge and understanding on how to make that than anybody else. And as people try to duplicate it, unless they go through the process that Zija International has gone through, they're never going to duplicate it and replicate it, because it's a major thing to do what we have done. But when Ken set this company up and he looked at the research, he said, let's do it the right way so we can get the biggest bang out of it. And they literally went through quite a few years of developing that to prove it and find it. That's what separates us from everybody else. And I've had a lot of patients who go buy moringa at a health food store, or they mix it in something, and they get no benefit. And when you go test that moringa, which we have done, it's almost like you're consuming mashed up dried cardboard. That's about the simplest way that I can make that say. It's not enzymatically alive. And what we found is that if we do the natural degradation and we pull it out in 5 different stages, it's still enzymatically alive. And the moment that we rehydrate it, and the hydration is the hydrogen of the water, the moment we rehydrate that, we turn back on that live enzyme. And now when we leave it in that water in the refrigerator in a sealed container, eventually the moringa goes in and splits the water molecules up and even makes it more powerful, right? So nobody else is doing that. And when we have tried that with other moringa leaves, it cannot do that because it's a dead product. Yes, it's pulp. Yes, it's fiber. So there is a benefit to that, but it doesn't have all the substrates, the 92 different things that we talk about in ZJ International's Moringa oleifera. And that's key because that's what separates us from everybody else. Nobody else has gone to the lengths that we have done, we meaning ZJ International, to make this the best product possible.
Awesome, Ben. Well, thank you so much. I'm hoping this was clear enough for everybody. If not, well, Ben and I'll be getting together again and doing a recording. It's our first time trying this, and it's a new platform for us, but I think once we get it going, it's going to be awesome. So, Ben, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Pat, for all you do, and for the ZJ World, ZJ Nation. You know what? Pioneers, that's what this is all about. So we're pioneering a new avenue to make this so that you can make it real for you and your people. And we want people to know this is about changing lives, right? And I love, Pat, some of your slogans that you talk about. We want to change lives, and that's what this process is all about. So God bless everybody.
Excellent. And next Wednesday, I will be having Dr. Noreen Ziegler on, and we'll even talk about the pets next week. So take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night. God bless.